What's up, Lost Boys? Here we are for our final fantasy football video for the 2023 season. First off, most importantly, round of applause to our champion and victor, Cass. Cass was the best team all year. He crushed it, was first place in the regular season. I think he had most points at the end of the year. He had the best draft. He had the healthiest team. He had the best team, and he conquered all. We're going to get into detail real quick. We're going to get into these playoff matchups. Then I got a couple other little fun things that I kind of looked into. I thought they were fun little stats from our fantasy football league. Let's get right into the matchups. We're going to start with the Super Bowl. Josh versus Cass. It was a roller coaster. We don't want to get too much into detail because it's depressing. Let's be real, depressing for Josh. But Cass had a monster lead Saturday. Had a huge percentage chance to win. CeeDee Lamb outscores all of Josh's Lions combined, which was crazy. CeeDee Lamb's been dominant for the last 8 weeks, and he showed it again. Carried Cass to the Super Bowl. Josh just put him in too much of a hole. His noon games got him back out in front. He went into that Sunday night football contest with about a 19-point lead. He had Justin Jefferson. Cass had Jordan Love and the Tyson Chandler, the running back for the Vikings. Jordan Love had his best game of the year, and Jordan Jefferson had his worst non-injury game of the year. That's 2 years in a row that Josh has had Justin Jefferson in the Super Bowl. Combined, those 2 years, he's combined to get him 10 points. So JJ can't perform when the spotlight is greatest. Cass's guys, even though with a substandard McCaffrey game, they took him out at halftime. He still got Cass 11 points. But the big thing was CeeDee Lamb. The big thing was Jordan Love. The big thing was the matchups that hurt Josh also helped Cass. The Lions did bad. CeeDee Lamb was in that game, did great. Justin Jefferson did bad. Jordan Love was in that game, did great. Cass's defense scored him 18 points. And that was pretty much, it was only an 8-point game. Really, really close roller coaster. Entertaining Super Bowl, but the better team won. Cass was the best team all year. He deserved the Super Bowl. In our third and fourth place game, we had Jace versus Ryan. Jace's team continued his unfortunate tailspin in the later ends of the thing. He had a decent week this week. He would have won it if he was a smart fantasy manager. Normally he is. I think he stopped carrying. Should have had Jerome Ford in there. If he would have had Jerome Ford in there, he would have won this week, but he did not. Ryan's team rose to the occasion. He takes third place. He gets his money back. Ryan is one of our better managers we've had in the league. He proved it again this year. Top three again for Ryan, former champion from last year. So those were our Super Bowl and those were our third and fourth place games. Congrats to everyone in the league this year. Jace will be naming Cal's team this year, so who knows when we're going to find that out. Maybe he'll save it for draft weekend, but I can't wait to hear what Cal's team's name is going to be. So once again, finally, again, congrats to Cass. Winning fantasy football is insanely hard, and he got his third championship this year. I think that was his third championship. I could be wrong, but I think it was his third. So congrats to Cass, everyone. Next thing we're going to do, when I was looking back at some of that stuff last week when I mentioned that Josh or Cass had been in the Super Bowl 9 out of the last 10 years, I saw some interesting stuff, so I decided to compile a rankings of a numerical ranking, as in if you get first place, you get 1 point. If you get last place, if you get 10th place, you get 10 points. And I started from Denny's first year, which was 9 years ago. I didn't get a full decade. I think Denny's first year was 2015. Um, so I listed I counted everyone's standings from 2015 up and through this year, and we're gonna go through them real quick. So we'll start at the top. Like I said, 1 point. So the lower is the better. 1 point is for first place. 10 points is for 10th place. We'll start at the top. Josh was number one. He had 23 points overall. Some really, really good years. He's won some titles. But the big thing I saw when I saw his team was he didn't really have any awful games. He didn't have any ninth, 10th, or 8th finishes. So Josh was number one at 23. Number two, our Super Bowl champ of this year, Cass, 37. He's been on a tear of late. The last 4 or 5 years, Cass has gotten 2 firsts and a second. He had a 7th place finish last year, which was a little out of rhythm. He had a 9th place finish one year. Um, but Cass is 2nd place with 37 points. He's showing his every year he's at the top, like I mentioned with him and Josh in the Super Bowl. So he's crushing at 37. 3rd place, Roman at 41 points. Roman, he always was battling Josh. They were in Super Bowls against each other back to back, each guy taking a Super Bowl. And Roman had, he has a 1, he has a 2, he has a first, he has 1 Super Bowl victory, but he's usually always in the playoff thick of things. He has 1 random 9th place finish back in 2020. But overall, Matt's team is really, really good. The learning computer's learning every single year. So Matt's in 3rd with 41 points. 4th place, shocker, Barreto. 4th place over a 9-year stretch. I couldn't believe it. 46 points for Justin. He started in 2015 with a 10. He was last place. I think his team name was, he's had some funny team names. Dante Monteits, Titty Juice Bigelow. I don't know what the hell they are. All Justin's team names. But he's been pretty good a lot of years. I mean, shoot, he's averaging 4th place over 9 years. So he's had a couple 2nd places. He's lost to Cass in 2 Super Bowls, which has got to sting. That's helped his average. He's had a bunch of 4th places as well. After that 10th place year that he had a long time ago, Justin is usually hovering around 2nd to 6th place every single year. So Justin coming in at 4th place at 46 points. Right behind Justin is Ryan at 48 points. Ryan has also been on a tear the last 4 or 5 years. He got a victory, co-champion with Josh last year. He got a 3rd place this year. He had a 6th place and an 8th place a couple years back. But Ryan always seems to be, he hit a random 10th place in 2017, which kind of skews his ranking. But in general, Ryan is always really, really good. It shows it right here. He's an average of 5th place. Ryan's always up there at the top, as we saw this year with his 3rd place finish. 6th place, Pat, right behind him. So Ryan was at 48 points. Pat was at 49 points. And that's with Pat having not three, sorry, that's someone else coming up later in the video. I'm sure you guys get. But he had 2 last place finishes, 2018 and 2019. Pat was last place back-to-back years. One of the years I saw, which I'm sure Pat remembers this, he scored the 2nd most points in the league that year. 2nd most points in the league, and he still got last place. That had to be bad beats every single week. I think that was 2018. But even including those 2 10th place finishes, Pat's still at 49 points. He's had a couple titles. He had a 1st place in 2015. He got another 1st place in 2020. He got a 2nd place in 2016. This year he got a 7th. A couple years ago he got a 9th. But most of the time Pat is right there. His average is 49 points, which is 6th place. Next, Jace, 7th. He's at 53 points. Jace, it seems like, as his 7th place thing would tell, he's always right there around the 4th, 5th, or 6th. He had 3 8th place finishes in a row from 16, 17, and 18. That really, really hurt him. And then last year he was 9th place. But in general, Jace has a lot of 4th, 5th. I mean, he's gotten 4th place 4 different times. Or 3 different times. So Jace is always right there. He seems to be in the playoff push. If he makes the playoffs, he gets 4th every single year, including this year. So Jace is number 7 at 53 points. And right behind Jace is Denny at 8 at 54 points. Denny, when he first came into the league in 2015, he kind of had a rough sled of things. I don't know if fantasy football is new to him, but he got an 8th, a 9th, and a 6th to start off his fantasy career. But you could tell those, the white hair, they were turning. His football knowledge, comes in with a third. Last year he got a 3rd. This year, unfortunately, he did take a 6th or a 9th. So, Denny, he's getting the hang of things. If you throw out those first few bad years, his ranking would be higher. Unfortunately, we don't throw out any years. So Denny is sitting there at 8 at 54. Now we get to the last 2, and it's kind of a big jump. Everyone's been kind of clumped in together. Denny was at 54. We're going to go to 9th place, which is Cal. and we're going to go from 54, Denny, to 65 with Cal. Cal jumps up to 65. It hasn't been pretty for our boy Calzone. He's only had one finish in the top four the last 9 years. It was 2020. He got a third place. That was the year he actually had the best team. He had Kamara go off for like 50 points in the semifinals, but he lost the week before. He should have gotten first that year, but he didn't. He ended up with third place. And that was Cal's only good team in about a decade. So, Cal, I feel for you, brother. You got 10th this year, 8th last year, 8th before. It's been a little rough. But good news for you, you are not our last place guy. That is claimed by, you guys all know, the bank. Tim is sitting hot. Cal was way down there at 65, okay? That was pretty bad. Tim is in 10th place at 78. 78 points, unfortunately, for our boy Tim. We all knew this. It's gotten comical at this point, but I didn't know it was really this bad until I tallied up all of his finishes. I mean, over a 9-year stretch, he's gotten 10th place 4 times. He's gotten 9th place 2 times. So 6 out of 9 years, Tim has pretty much been in 9th or 10th place. He's got a 5th, he's got a 7th, and unfortunately this year he fell to 8th. He was in the playoff push, but he didn't do too well in the consolation brackets. So I found those stats interesting. It was kind of funny looking at some of the past years, seeing some of the past players, points totals, finishes, and stuff. Our league is crazy, and I can't wait to see, 10 years from now, we're all still going to be doing this. How many more finishes are we going to have? But yeah, so those are some interesting stats of our last 10 years. So hopefully next year we get a little mix up. Cal gets rolling, Tim gets rolling, everyone starts to feel a little bit closer. Everyone was actually really clumped up this year. So this year, you could tell the trends were it's much more competitive. Everyone was fighting for those playoff spots that last week of the season. So everyone did an awesome job this year. And then the last thing I want to talk about, do it real quick. It's never too early, guys. It's never too early. I've been telling you this. 2024 first round mock from your boy Josh right here. Okay, this is my mock. Number 1 overall pick. It's got to be CMC. He stayed healthy the whole year. The dude was a beast. He was a receiver and a running back combined this year. He outscored the second most highest scoring running back by over 100 points this year. Not even close. He dominated everything. He's on one of the best offenses of the league. He's on maybe the soon to become Super Bowl champs of the league in the Niners. Either way, CMC has to be the first pick. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Second pick is when things start to get a little interesting, but I think next year, by the time the season rolls around, it's going to be Tyreek. He just has proven, especially with Tua back there, he's QB proof anyway, but he's the most dangerous person in the NFL. He will single-handedly win you weeks in a half. I mean, the guy will go for 4 catches for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns in one half. Pat had him this year. He knows the joy having Tyreek, and I think Tyreek's going to be our second pick next year. Number 3 is where I had the most problems with. I ended up landing on CeeDee Lamb. I think the way he finished out the season, won Cass the Super Bowl. Dallas's offense is rolling. He's their clear-cut number 1 guy. He's just ultra talented as well. He's still young. Like, he check marks every single box. CeeDee's gonna be 3rd overall in the mock, and he barely edges out JJ for the 4th spot. JJ, and the main reason is JJ. He's phenomenal. He's great, but he did get injured this year, number 1. He's had some lackluster fantasy playoff performances, number 2. But most importantly, his QB situation is unknown right now. Cousins blew his Achilles. They don't know who their quarterback's going to be to start the season, and that's definitely a scary thing for a wide receiver. Number 5, we're going to go Ja'Marr Chase. Chase had a down year this year, but you can tell the chemistry when Burrow is in there, he feeds Chase. Higgins is more likely going to be gone next year, so Chase is going to be a target hog. My prediction is he will lead the league in targets next year. He's a baby back bitch, I will say that, but he's a really, really, really good receiver that's going to be on a really, really good offense. If Burrow can stay healthy next year, Chase has a chance to vie for wide receiver 1 next year, so I have him at 5. Number 6, this might be a surprise to some people, Amon-Ra St. Brown. The guy is just about as consistent as it can get. He's been awesome almost every single week of the season. He's guaranteeing you almost 16 to 20 fantasy points a week. He's the Lions' #1 wide receiver. We'll see if Ben Johnson stays as the offensive coordinator at the Lions. He'll probably go for a head coaching job. But either way, the Lions have Gibbs. They have Montgomery. They have Laporta. They have Amon-Ra. They have so many weapons. They can't double team Amon-Ra. He's never gets hurt. He has phenomenal hands. He's really, really good. And he's just a safe pick. And we always say in the fantasy football first round, you can't win your league. Well, actually, you can with Cass with CMC this year. But you can't win your league, but you can lose your league in the first round. So Amon-Ra at 6. Right behind Amon-Ra, I put A.J. Brown there. I know A.J. Brown had he dropped off these last few weeks because the Eagles' offense kind of dropped off a little bit. But A.J. Brown for a 7-week stretch was I think he broke the NFL record 6 straight weeks for 125 yards plus every single game. That doesn't even count the touchdowns. He was averaging about 23 fantasy points a week for 7 weeks straight. That's insane. A.J. Brown, he's still young. I think he's 26 years old. He's on a phenomenal offense. They're going to throw the ball more. He's physically gifted. He never gets hurt, it doesn't seem like. So A.J. Brown I have at 7. Number 8, I'm going to put Jonathan Taylor here. A lot of that has to do with him being a good player, but also the scarcity at running back. It's kind of up in the air. So this could completely change. These next 3 picks are wild cards. Jonathan Taylor, he's on a good decent O-line in the Colts. They're going to feed him the ball. We don't know if Zach Moss is going to be there next year. He performed well at the end of the season. Anthony Richardson might be back next year, which means they're going to have to respect the pass, and more importantly, they're going to have to respect his run. So the run-pass option is going to allow Jonathan Taylor more holes. So I have him at number 8. That could change a lot throughout the offseason. Number 9, I actually have Breece Hall. The guy's a monster athlete. He's coming off an ACL tear this past year. This year he did not get hurt. He showed in these fantasy playoffs how good he was. He should get Rodgers back next year. The Jets should be improved. I think Breece Hall has a chance to go in the first round, but like I said, running backs we'll see, And then last but not least, this one's kind of up there, but depends on how they are and if their coach, Bijan. I mean, Bijan, if you watched him, for the most part, he was awesome, especially those first 8 weeks of the year. He's a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal guy. But the main thing is default. I could not find a guy that you want to put in this spot right here. Davante Adams, Garrett Wilson, Jahmyr Gibbs. These are a lot of people's favorites to go at the end of this first round. Here's a name that keep in the back of your head. It's not too far-fetched for last year. Maybe a little too early in the first round, but check out second round, depending on where he goes in the draft. Marvin Harrison Jr. The guy's going to be a monster. If he somehow goes to Arizona, I think it's going to push him into the top 20 picks easily. If he goes to the Bears with Justin Fields thrown to him, it's going to drop him pretty far. Or if he goes to the Patriots, it's going to drop him pretty far. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a wild card. Anyway, guys, that's my top 10. Hope this video was good. I love you all. It was a phenomenal season. Congrats to our Super Bowl champ Cass again, you guys. You have a great night.